Greetings. This is the one you've known as Jesus the Christ. Today I'd like to make a distinction between what some call the witness and awareness. In spiritual circles, it may not be understood that there's a distinction. People use these words differently, which is one reason for some of the confusion. But I'm here to say that there is a difference between witnessing thoughts and being in awareness. The point I want to make is that the witness is often just a more aware ego, a possibly more discriminating ego, one that can split itself apart and observe thought and comment on it, evaluate it and judge it, as is its nature to do. Did you know that sometimes when you're witnessing your thoughts, it's your ego that's witnessing them, not a higher awareness or awareness with a capital A? Awareness, as I'm using it, refers to the divine self or the divine intelligence that lives within you, your true self. An example of the ego as witness is the superego. The superego is a split-off aspect of the ego that judges egoic thoughts from the standpoint of a spiritual authority. The superego pretends to be a wise being who passes judgments on you, like the traditional God, and on the thoughts you have. You shouldn't be thinking those thoughts. That's not spiritual, says the superego. The way you can tell that this type of witnessing is the superego is that the witness is having thoughts. The witness is judging your other thoughts. Awareness, on the other hand, doesn't speak to you in your head as a thought, and certainly not as a judgment. Here's how awareness, the true witness, or what I like to call the noticer, operates. If you have a negative thought, awareness causes a contraction in your energy body. That is how it speaks to you in a sense. It does so energetically. This contraction signals that you're in your ego. Or awareness gives you an expansive feeling in your chest when you're in touch with the truth about life, when you're aligned with it, your divine self. Awareness sees the truth about your thoughts from a detached and loving perspective and lets you know how true those thoughts are by signaling you energetically, while the witness observes thoughts from the perspective of the ego and judges them or perhaps praises you for them. More often, the witness tries to push thoughts away because it doesn't want to think those thoughts. You may think this is your spiritual self being wise and rejecting the ego's thoughts. But more often than not, it's the ego or superego split off and resisting or rejecting its own thoughts. This type of witnessing will only keep you tied to the ego. What you resist persists. Resisting your thoughts, not wanting them, wishing they would go away, is just more ego creating contraction and tension within you, which is how you can know it is the ego. This is a common trap spiritual seekers find themselves in. They get that the egoic mind, the voice in their head, is the problem, and so their ego sets about trying to correct this by being upset with these thoughts, being disappointed in or angry with oneself for having them, or just feeling defeated and not being able to overcome them. The fact that these tactics result in more contraction of one's energy is proof that this is the ego fighting the ego. The step that needs to be taken at this point is to bring certain qualities of the divine self, of awareness with a capital A, to these thoughts. Qualities such as curiosity, acceptance, and compassion. When you do that, you are in awareness in relation to your thoughts. And you know this is the case because you feel relaxed and at peace with those thoughts. And yet you aren't letting them determine your inner climate. They aren't affecting you or defining you. Curiosity is one of the most important qualities you can bring to your thoughts. Curiosity is a bridge that takes you from identification with your thoughts or with a false witness to pure awareness. Once you're aware of your thoughts, become curious about them. Where's that thought coming from? What other thoughts are connected to it? How is it affecting my energy? And the most important question of all, is it true? Meaning, is it universally always true? Just how true is it? It might have been true at some point in your life, but is it true in this moment? These thoughts about yourself are true only if you believe they are. See this. Whatever so-called truth might have been part of your life history or life story can only continue to be true if you keep believing it. Do you want to continue to believe this? If not, see that it's just a thought, and that if you don't breathe life into it again in this moment, by agreeing with that story, it will drop away and no longer be true. This is how you become free of your conditioning. You don't have to be at the effect of your conditioning. Your conditioning only remains true for as long as you keep believing it. For example, if you believe that you aren't good enough, that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You'll notice all the times you fail or don't live up to your ego's expectations, and none of the times you do. And you'll hold unrealistic expectations for yourself, because that's what egos do. The ego doesn't realize or accept that everyone is imperfect, and that everyone advances in life by failing time and time again. People learn and make their way through life by stumbling and learning, and stumbling again and learning. Everyone is learning in the same imperfect, messy way. And if you wish to continue to call yourself stupid or inadequate because of this very natural learning process, that is your choice. You can maintain that self-image, or you can see the truth that through so-called failure is how everyone learns and becomes wiser, not just you. You are no more inadequate or adequate than anyone else. Stupid or inadequate are just labels, stories the ego tells to make you wrong, which is what the ego does. That's the ego's con game. You can buy into that con or see the truth. Every thought is like that. You can buy into the ego's con, its lies, or you can see the truth. Be curious about your thoughts. See the con, the lies, and then tell yourself something that counteracts that lie, something that is the truth, something that soothes you, relaxes you, and brings you peace. That's how the truth feels. The truth sets you free from contraction, from dissatisfaction, unhappiness, and every negative emotion you could possibly have. Inquire into your thoughts until you can come up with the truth. I'll give you a clue about finding this truth. The ego's truth is very small, and believing it makes you feel small, contracted. That's how you know you're believing a lie. The truth, on the other hand, is a much bigger perspective. It's a zoomed-out perspective. It includes much more, and it isn't just about you. Psychologists call this reframing, when you tell a bigger, truer story, one that contains more of the truth. I just did this with the egoic truth, I'm not good enough. I reframed this as everyone makes mistakes, and there's no other way to grow and learn than by making mistakes. Notice that you is not in that reframe at all. The ego's stories have you at the center of them, while the truth has no you in them. The truth is a truth about life in general, or about people in general. It's a bigger story. The ego is tricky indeed, but once you see that it's always bringing the focus back to you and how you are doing and what you like and how you will fare, you'll begin to see that these are attempts to create and maintain a certain sense of yourself that is false and not helpful to you. This you has all sorts of problems, is unhappy, and is searching for happiness in the wrong places. Once you see what the ego is up to in creating such thoughts, you can begin to let go of these thoughts. They are just thoughts, after all, and the only power they have is what you give them when you believe them. Spiritual progress is all about not believing these you thoughts any longer. This is where compassion comes in. Compassion for the human predicament of having an ego that does this will free you from these thoughts. Once you see what your thoughts are and what they're up to, you can have compassion for this very difficult situation you find yourself in, where the ego is attempting to create all sorts of unhappiness and trouble. You and everyone else are in this same boat. Everyone has an ego that does this. Now back to awareness. You know when you're in awareness with a capital A because it feels good. You feel at peace, fine with life, with this moment just as it is, and happy to be alive. You feel grateful, content, and relaxed. It's that simple. From this place, it's easy to see what the ego is up to, and you're not interested in indulging it or playing its games. You notice the thoughts and easily turn away from them. If they catch you up, you notice that, and then accept that you got caught up, forgive yourself, and go back to enjoying your present moment experience. You don't think about those thoughts, analyze them, or argue with them. You don't touch them. You let them come and go. This is what being in awareness, the true witness, is like. Thinking about thoughts and analyzing them can occasionally be productive, but for the most part that's just another way the ego draws you back into thought. It's a very short trip from the rational mind's analysis, or thinking about your thoughts, to the egoic mind. Better to just stay in the present moment, in your body and senses, and move from there. When you're present in the moment, life will move you, and it will move you to use your rational mind when you need to. But otherwise you'll just move without thought. You may be surprised how little you actually have to think when going about your day, unless you're specifically engaged in mental work. Thank you for being open to this message. I hope it gives you some clarity on the path. I am with you always.